Hey, y'all. Welcome to the Book Marketing Mania podcast. I'm your host, Kim Stewart, and I'm so glad you're tuning in today. My guest today is my dear friend, Jana Kennedy-Spicer, founder of Sweet to the Soul Ministries. Jana's the author of several self-published books and devotionals and journals, and this year her ministry launched the Sweet to the Soul Faith quarterly magazine. Y'all, it is such a gorgeous publication full of articles and devotions from some of my favorite women ever. So I couldn't wait to ask her all about being an author, a co-author, and a leader of a contributor team that blesses everyone involved and provides a built-in launch team to boot to get God's word out into the world much further than we can all do it alone. Plus, she's sharing all kinds of marketing wisdom with us. We don't call this Book Marketing Mania for nothing, so let's get to it. Hey, Jana, welcome to the Book Marketing Mania podcast. I'm so glad you're here today.
It is so exciting to be here with you, Kim. Thanks so much for the invite and for having me.
Yeah, it's so fun. So for those of our listeners that may not be real familiar with me and Jana, I would love to just share a little of our history of our getting to know each other and working together. We met through the Compel membership for writers that Proverbs 31 Ministries has, which if you don't know about that, I definitely recommend you check it out. And I'll put a link in the show notes because they were definitely the first ministry that I know of, or even business, that put together a membership for writers specifically to learn how to craft writing and books, and do publishing and pitching and all that good stuff. They were definitely the OGs of doing that. And so Jana and I had connected in their membership forum where we all got to kind of get to know each other before a She Speaks conference. I think it was 2015. Yeah. So we were getting ready to go to She Speaks and found out that we only lived about an hour away from each other. So we were so excited and connected with each other. And then we got to meet each other in Charlotte when we were at that conference, and our marketing hearts just bonded. And we loved everything about marketing and loved getting to know all the authors. I think we were both pretty giddy at getting to take our pictures with our favorite authors. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. It was like, I loved going to She Speaks. I was a total fangirl at getting to take pictures and actually meet some of these authors that I had followed and read their work, seen just the contributions that they were making. It was such an opportunity to be able to sit at their feet and learn from them. But, Kim, one of the things that I remember is, for me, I think you were one of the very first, if not the first, ministry person who reached out to me. And it was exciting because, we were just found out we lived pretty close to each other, but it was just such a wonderful gift for you to reach out. And of course, over these years, that's just grown exponentially with our community and the friends and everything else. But I'll never forget that first invite.
Yeah, I agree. It was definitely, God had his hands all over that. And it's just so fun to connect, right, with people online. And then, to find out they live close to each other. And then, our journey has been so fun, just all the different things we've gotten to do. And for those of us that don't know, Jana and I used to team up together to launch books. And that was kind of birthed at that She Speaks. Again, just our marketing hearts and wanting to work with some of the authors that we loved and wanted to help them get their message out. So I want to give a shout out to some of our favorite authors we got to work with: Karen Eman, Ruth Schwank, Susie Eller, Lynn Cole, Sydney Bultema, Wendy Blight,
Joanna Weaver.
Joanna Weaver.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And shout out to their publishers, HarperCollins, Bethany House, Waterbrook. So we've worked with some amazing authors and definitely gotten to see the behind the scenes with their publishers that have been so great at pulling us into their marketing plans. And we had such a great time getting to serve our favorite authors. And then we just both kind of decided that it was time to lay that down and let other people pick up that book launch effort, because holy cow, it's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun too. And it's definitely changed over the years, right, Jan? I mean, can you imagine, like back then we didn't even have video, right? I mean, it was like, I can remember we got so giddy about, I think it was Wendy, right? Wendy Blight, that we had on a conference call with the team.
Yeah, it has definitely changed, and it has changed rapidly. Things that we were pretty busy, with one author right after another. It just seemed like from one book launch to another, the atmosphere changed and the tools changed and the really go-to marketing ideas changed. It just was constantly evolving, and is still doing that today. But it was definitely a learning experience. And I would give everybody that encouragement that if you haven't launched your own book, if you're wanting to learn something about marketing, if you're wanting to see what's happening, is jump on somebody's launch team, just volunteer for them, and not to lead it, bit, not to bite off too much, but just get on there and help them promote their book and share their message. And that's one of the best ways to learn how to do some of this marketing stuff is to volunteer with someone else who's in the middle of one of their promotions or something and just give them a hand.
Yeah, I think that's such a great tip because I know that's how we kind of got started, reaching out to our faves. And then, there's just so much to do, right? And the authors need so much help. So if you have a certain sweet spot for an author, or if you have a certain skill you can bring to the table, definitely get out there and offer up to them because they will be so excited. Because I'm thinking I know Jana is the design queen. Like she can put together some amazing artwork for your book cover, for all the memes. We used to just share memes. Like that was really all we could share. There was no video or Instagram stories or anything like that. But you put together some beautiful memes. But I know we would go from the very beginning of, working with the publisher to put together the marketing plan. We would manage and execute the launch team and lead them and create all those 5-day challenges that were popular back then. We would do website pages. I'm trying to think what else we would manage the author's social media. I mean,
their social media, endless. All of those Facebook live parties. Well, I say Facebook live. They weren't live because we weren't doing any video, but we would be on there at the same time that their audience was and trying to carry on all those conversations is what I remember. It would take so many of us just to kind of keep track of the conversations. And it's really a lot of work. And I know some things have changed now, but it's still a lot of work. So any author could use any set of hands to help them jump in there. But it was a huge learning experience. Everything we learned something, or I know that I did, and I think you did too, every time, every book we work with, every publisher, every author, big or small, it's always a learning experience. Always take something new away.
Yeah, that's so true. So I definitely encourage everybody. If you're looking at launching something in 2022, definitely reach out to an author that might be launching as well and see what you can learn from them. Or even if you're not launching a book, right? You just want to learn about the book marketing world, publishing, writing. I mean, oh my gosh, just all the things, balancing ministry and motherhood. We worked with a lot of authors that were great about doing that. But there's just so much that goes into it. And so one thing I do remember, Jana, and I don't know if you're going to agree with this, but you probably will, because we're going to dive into your own author journey. But I know the one thing, as we were getting into it, and definitely after we were done with it, was like, oh man, I wish we had more time. I wish we had started way earlier than what we did, so that we could have, really been a lot more even creative and had a lot more time to do more things with the book release.
Yeah, I agree completely. And especially in the traditional publishing arena, most authors work on their book for a really long time. I mean, they may have worked on that book for a year, 2 years before it ever gets into the publisher's hands, and they're getting it formatted and they're getting it ready and they've got a launch date set. So they've already invested a lot of time. But what I know we would experience is we would get the literal last minute phone call. Like, I'm launching a book next month. Can you help me out? It's like, you should have called us about 6 or 7 months ago, minimum. And marketing plays such a big part of your message, whether it's a traditionally published book or it is an independently published book, or maybe it's a podcast that you're launching, or maybe it's a program or a video series or just a course that you're launching. The marketing plays such an important role. And the earlier you can start on that, the better, because there's marketing things that we can do up front. And I know we even ran into some situations with some authors that if you can get up front when they're first starting talking about their message, then there's a lot of things that your marketing coach can potentially help you craft, and that would make your book even that much easier to market. But definitely not the month right before you're ready to launch. Call somebody before then.
That's so true. And it still happens today, right? And I think you just put so much work into that. You don't have time to think about marketing sometimes until you do get that book in your hand, right? And not that it's too late then, but there is just a lot more you could do if you kind of start thinking about it way earlier on.
Yeah, I hear from author friends who are in the early stages, and they're writing their proposals and they're putting all that together. And so they want to know what they can put in their marketing section to let their publisher know what they're committed to doing or what they can do. So they do think about it. I mean, it is a thought for, I think, most authors, especially if you're traditionally publishing. You do have an opportunity to start with that in the beginning. For independently published, which is what I do, I would say don't do what I do, but do what Kim tells you to do and what we're talking about, because I typically run on a very short runway. Yeah, it can become very anxious driven and stressful when you do that type of a thing. So yeah, if you can start early, that'd be great.
Yeah, the earlier the better for sure. Well, hey, let's talk about your author journey, Jana. So
Okay.
I think that you've self-published, and I'm probably wrong on the number. I know that you've self-published at least 25 books, that maybe it's more than that.
Probably in some format. Some of those are journals. We have a magazine now. Some of those are devotionals. So I would say that's probably pretty close. And I also help other authors self-publish their titles as well. So I've worked with some other authors to get their titles out there.
And when did you self-publish your first book?
It has been 6 years.
Okay.
And was such an interesting journey because, like you had mentioned, we connected our hearts over marketing. And I never really sat down to write a book. In fact, I don't know why I was at She Speaks, because I didn't have a book to sell at all. But we did publish, our ministry did publish our first book about 6 years ago. And we did it in such an unusual manner because we published the book so we could give it away. There was no intention to necessarily drive sales. There was no marketing plan at all to go with it, because we published a book and put it together so that we could give it to women in prison. And so selling it on the sidelines was just a way basically to fund how many books we wanted to send into the prison. So there wasn't a huge marketing push, but surprisingly, we had a few good ideas, and it did end up doing very well, and it still sells well today.
Yeah, that's so great. So, Jana, tell us about your contributor team at Sweet to the Soul, because I know you've had contributors that have shared blog posts on your blog, as well as your social media, and then of course you've done lots of contributor articles and different things with your book. So I'd love for you to just kind of share about that, because I know sometimes authors, it's scary, right? We feel so alone in doing things, and it might be more empowering for some of our listeners to think, hey, I could actually team up with other women and get some books published a lot faster.
Yeah, I think if you don't have a group of friends that you can do this with, then you definitely need to find that group. Find your tribe, your squad, whatever you want to call them. And like I had mentioned before, my first trip to She Speaks, I was kind of curious, why I was there, because I didn't have a book to pitch. I didn't have the thought of writing like 60,000 words just to me was terrifying to me. Not only did I not think I really had a story, what would it even be that I would write about, but just kind of the idea of writing that much. Now, for some people, that's totally their jam, and they'll knock out a dozen of those a year, and that is an amazing gift. But that's not really where I end up. And I kind of figured out early on that I needed other people, that I couldn't do this alone. If there was going to be a book published, that it wasn't just going to be me. And so going back to the first book that we published was, I think, 22 different contributors added their content to this book, and we did like a 31-day devotional. So everybody had a scripture and they wrote a devotional, and then we added all this other content to it. And it was wonderful concept. It was well received. And I'm sure y'all have seen, devotional books, or maybe you've been a part of one. But after doing that, that really kind of clicked for me, that at least for this ministry, for Sweet to the Soul, that was really our sweet spot, was in a team format. And so I've been so blessed over the years that women choose to share their messages through Sweet to the Soul. And this year was a huge year for us. We just launched a magazine of all things, a different format for us. And this latest issue that will be out has like over 30 women contributing to it. And that includes writers, it includes creatives that do artwork, it includes photographers, it includes editors, women who read and edit our content. It's just an amazing blessing. So yes, we have a contributor team that's open to receiving blog content, social media content, and then as we work on most of our books, then they are also multi-author. Every once in a while, I'll do one that's just me, but most of the time it's anywhere from 2, 4, or more authors when we put together a book.
That's so great. And then you can be able to say, if they did want to go after a traditional published contract, they are an author. They're already a published author, right? Because they've already self-published.
Yeah, that's a huge, I think that's a huge boost for a lot of the women, is that, one, they can say that they're published. They can also have product at their book table, even though they're not traditionally published. They can say, I'm part of this compilation devotional, and you can read more about it. And so I think our authors love that too. That's one of the offerings that we provide to our authors is copies of those books so that they can put those either in their online stores, in their events, or however they want to resell those. And so they will have product on that table. And I think most of them enjoy that also. That helps fund their ministry. And the other really nice benefit to it is we kind of have a built-in launch team when we do something, because we have people who are invested with their words and their heart. And so they naturally want to share about this book that they're part of, or this magazine, or whatever the project is. And it also helps just bridge audiences. We have really good audience, we have a good following, and we have all of those things, but it's not everybody. And anybody that writes for us always brings new people to the table. And it's a double benefit for everybody, because maybe we can bring new people to their table. And when you get 30 different authors together, the reach that everybody has, because there's going to be people that have never heard of Sweet to the Soul that one of these authors is going to read, and vice versa. Maybe somebody who's familiar with our audience doesn't know one of these authors. And to be able to just spread that audience among women who are spreading our message is just, it's wonderful. I mean, that's really ultimately why we're doing what we do, right, is to spread that message. And it's a huge marketing tool as well to be in a collaborative effort like that.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that. So I love that you touched on that, because that's what I was thinking is I imagine, it's taking Sweet to the Soul and God's message and just magnifying it by however many contributors you have. And I love that everybody gets so excited about being a part of that. And there's absolutely zero competition, right? It's all just this huge community wanting to collaborate and lift each other up.
It really is. And, that is such a blessing. I was thinking about that earlier. Obviously, there can be that competitive component that's out there sometimes, but we've just been really blessed. And the women that are part of this community know, I mean, they're very much, they want to lift their sister up. They want to share each other's content outside of whatever they're doing for and with Sweet to the Soul. I mean, they want to share each other's content. And it's built a beautiful community. It's not a formal community or like a club to join or anything. Most of us have been interacting with each other for several years. And the beautiful thing about the magazine this year is we've been able to connect with some women that we haven't been connected with before, as far as authors and contributors. And so we've got new voices. It's not just always the same, 2 or 3 voices. We've got some younger voices, and it's just been really nice to continue to build that community. And, I would suggest to somebody, if you're listening and you're thinking, man, I'd like to be part of a community like that, and you're waiting for an invitation, I would say turn the tables and invite some friends of your own. Start a collaborative project on your own. It doesn't have to be a book. It doesn't have to be published. Maybe it's just, get 4 friends and y'all write 1 Devo each and publish it on everybody's website or something like that. If you're not sitting at a table you've been invited to, then just invite some others to your table.
It's great advice. Oh my gosh. Yes. So if you want to check out being a part of the Sweet to the Soul team, I know that Jana puts out calls when she has magazines coming up or books coming up. She puts out calls for new writers. So definitely we'll put a link to that so that you guys can connect with Jana and find out about that. So you might want to look at doing that.
We try to keep that content updated so you can know what types of things we're going to be talking about, with keeping a little mystery out there. We don't want to let everything out of the bag. You can check that link out online, and you can see what we'll be looking for in the next quarter or so.
Well, so I want to back up a little bit, Janet. So tell everybody a little bit about your journey to founding Sweet to the Soul.
So that started almost 10 years ago. Sweet to the Soul will celebrate its 10th anniversary next summer, next July. July of 2022 will be our 10-year anniversary. And it really started based on art, not writing or publishing at all. As you had mentioned, I do graphics and the memes, and I love drawing art and watercolor. And God just led me to a point of conviction that I needed to be using a gift that He had given me. About 9.5 years ago now, I published my first meme on Facebook, and I had no earthly idea what I was doing. I had no tools whatsoever. I had no instruction. I just knew that I could post these memes on Facebook. And I was so excited when I got my very first like on a meme, and it wasn't anybody that I knew. It was some woman in France. And I thought, oh my goodness, my world was just blown away that somebody in another country saw this picture that I had done with a scripture on it. And that's really where it started. And then God He started making connections for me, like with you, Kim, and then through She Speaks and Proverbs 31 fun. And then just meeting other people. And it's just grown from there. It was a really scary first step. I had no earthly idea what I was doing. I was just impressed that I got something to upload.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And again, that was back when, there wasn't anything else to do right on Facebook. I mean, so many people probably didn't even know about Facebook whenever you were first on it.
No, it was very much, like I said, I had found out about it and I got on it, followed, see what my kids were doing, my teenagers. That was how I knew about it. It's because they were using it. Of course, there were some other Christian women out there blogging. I had no earthly idea what blogging was. I had no concept that it was even a thing or what it was. So no, I didn't have any type of business plan. I didn't have any type of idea like that. God just said, go do this here. And I did it.
You're so obedient. Well, I know you've grown your Facebook page to at least 45,000 is amazing, especially the genre that we're in. But so many people want to be blessed by your beautiful images and verses. Is there anything? So I know a lot of people are just like, I don't know what to do on Facebook. I don't know how to grow my Facebook. I want more followers. I want more what would you speak into that? Because I know there's things that have changed greatly over that time, but there's also things I think probably that have just stayed the same that you've seen from your followers, especially when you see, the images that worked back then that people got excited about and the images that still work today that people get excited about. So I'd love you to maybe share a little bit about that.
Well, you're spot on. So much has changed from an engagement standpoint. Even when we just had a very few followers, our engagement could be so much higher than what it is even right now. So yeah, as more content has come on board with Facebook, of course, they have to manage it somehow. I mean, we just couldn't handle getting all the content that's out there. So I understand they have to manage it somehow. So there have been some changes there. But the thing that I've seen be consistent for me is just the tried and true what we started with. I see a lot of ministries doing a lot of different things. And of course, video takes a part now. And what may work for someone might not work for somebody else. But the audience that follows us just loves that tried and true scripture-based meme or image. And one of their favorites is Sunday. Sunday is our highest traffic day on Facebook. I've been told so many times over the years, there's no reason to post anything on the weekend. Nobody's on social media on the weekends. Nobody will see anything, but Sunday remains consistently our highest traffic day. And so we've just kind of stayed true to that. I've tried some different things over the course of the years, but for our audience, that's what they love. So we just keep doing that. We just try to post a daily encouragement and a meme. We run some Facebook ads. Some work really well, some don't. I'm still learning on that because, I'll read something or I'll see somebody and they'll say, this is what you need to do on your Facebook ad to get engagement. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes my Facebook ads actually get less engagement than a similar just post that I had. So it's nothing consistent that I have found. So there may be some other people out there that can say, no, you got to do it exactly this way, but it seems to be really inconsistent for me.
Yeah, I think that's true across all the platforms, right? You just have to really test it out and see what's going to work for you. What are your followers and readers going to engage with? And then double down on that. I know you're real good about checking your analytics and just really seeing what is working and not and why.
Yeah, you definitely want to do that. I mean, if you have something that works, you want to make sure that you be consistent with that, but don't be afraid to try other things because you never know when something is going to catch. And of course, most of us have a certain group that our audience fits into a certain category, and ours typically tends to be a little bit older. So we haven't jumped on the reels and doing all the reels and the fun videos and everything. For my own hesitation, I'm sure, because a lot of people really knock that out of the park. Don't be afraid to try it. I would say try stuff like that, but don't just dismiss, the basic and the tried and true that works for you.
Yeah, that's so true. I've seen that with a couple of the authors that I've worked with that, when they do put up an image that was super popular years ago and it doesn't look anything like their brand today, it's like they put it up and it just goes off like wildfire. So I think we have to remember, new eyes. You never know what new eyes are going to be attracted to, but then also the old eyes, they're like, oh, thank gosh, that's what I'm used to.
Well, and you bring up a good point because repurposing even your social media content can be very valuable, especially if you're in a season or your schedule doesn't allow you to constantly create new content. Repurposing that. I know for us this month, the topic that we're covering, obviously we're recording this, it's November, so we're talking about gratitude, but it's pretty much what we've talked about every November for the last 10 years. So I do try to make it a little fresh, but then I also bring back some of stuff that's that's already been created. And we're blessed to have a lot of contributors who write for our ministry. And so, yeah, some of the things that we're sharing this year were actually written about 5 years ago. So we'll bring some of that back too, but create some fresh graphics so that it's got a new look to it, because branding changes, but then also just your visual styles change. So what's popular now is a little bit different from what was popular, 5, 6, especially 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's so true. So after self-publishing as many books as you have, Jana, and I know some of those are co-authors with other people or some that have been with your contributor team. Is there anything you would recommend for people that are self-publishing? Like, is there anything they need to watch out for, like for their, and this could be a whole conversation, I know, on its own, but just maybe some top tips on, like your book cover, things that are going to catch your reader's eye, or just any of the top tips you can think of when it comes to self-publishing your book on Amazon, I guess.
Yeah, I would start with your cover. Definitely. People say, don't judge a book by its cover, but we do. And so if you have, a small budget, limited funds, consider the investment in your cover, because you've got to get people past your cover to read the content. So if your content is great, that's wonderful. But if your cover doesn't get their attention, if your marketing doesn't get their attention, they're never going to get to the interior and the meat of your book. So definitely focus on your cover. Don't try to do it yourself unless you're a graphic designer. There are a lot of graphic design resources that are out there that aren't super expensive, and you can hire somebody to do that and maybe give you a couple of options, and get your focus groups or get your community to look at those options and let them tell you what cover they respond to. That's one of the best things I think that we miss sometimes, especially as a self-publisher, because if you're traditionally publishing, you have this resource with this publishing house and you have all these editors and they're looking at everything. But when you're self-publishing, it tends to just be, just me. And then maybe I am showing it to my friend who's reading it to see if they have any typos, or maybe an editor if you're able to invest with one. And so we can get stuck with just what we might think is attractive. Now, that's not to insult what anybody thinks is attractive, but ultimately you want the book cover to speak to your audience. So definitely invest some time with that. It's worth it in the long run. And I guess the other thing that I would say is, if you really have that message that's burning on your heart, don't be afraid to self-publish, but have it be the best quality that you can. I know some of the trade published books that we had worked with, when we were promoting Authors Kim, I know we would get them and we would be reading through them and it would be like, man, they just didn't even catch any of these typos. Or, it was hard to pull out even promotional statements or sticky statements or whatever you want to call those. And so, invest time to make sure that you have these components built into your book, that your message, and have someone help you with that. Have them edit it or read through it. That would be two of my biggest things right there to do that. And of course, if you're just unfamiliar with the territory or not sure what to do, there's all types of groups that you can join that will help you to be able to do those things or train you how to do it. A lot of great authors that I've listened to that offer up their experience once they've gone through the process.
Yeah, that's a great point. You mentioned in sticky statements. Do you remember, I don't know if it was the first year that we were there at She Speaks Together, but at the presentation that Karen Eman and Lisa Turkhurst put on about baking your marketing content into your book as you're writing it. Do you remember that? Oh my gosh, they've never repeated that. And I keep hoping one of these years they will, because that was the most amazing presentation for writers to think about as they're writing their books. And yeah, it just makes it so much easier when it comes time to market it.
It really does, because I know there have been times when I was trying to help somebody market a message, and it's like sometimes you're crafting those sticky statements after the fact, which is okay, but you really want your content to be highlightable. And I'm not sure that's the phrase that they mentioned in their training, but it's like you want them to be able, your reader, to pause so often, whether or not you've got a sticky statement broken out on the page, and you've set it aside, and so it's in a larger type, or you really want to get their focus. You want that reader to be able to stop every, few pages and highlight something, if not every page. You really want them to pull something out of the message, whatever your message is. And you want that baked in, you want that built in. So yeah, that's very important to kind of go back through and be able to do that and have that already written in. It's so much more valuable, I think, to be able to pull content that you can market with instead of having to create content content after the fact to make your message marketable.
That is so true. So yeah, if anybody wants to check that out to get some training on sticky statements, I would definitely check out the Compel blog, or maybe inside their membership. And I'll definitely leave links to those because it's so powerful. And those are the statements that your readers are going to share with their girlfriends, right? And just be able to just very naturally be talking about your book. So I love that. So, hey, I want to ask you about some of your digital things that you have sold and created, because we had a recent episode with Becky Kapitsky talking about, creating digital products to fund our ministries, to fund our book marketing help we need. So will you tell a little bit about what you have done in that department?
Well, we have a wide variety of digital content. In fact, we started with the artwork because, like you'd mentioned, like I said, I love to draw, I love the artwork. I do a lot of Bible journaling. And so that was some of the first digital content that I created. We have that in an Etsy store, and it is beautiful, evergreen content. If you don't have digital content in some fashion, even if you're not a creative, you need to have some digital content. That helps fund our ministry almost more than anything else, is that digital content in those downloads. But we also have Bible study related digital content. People think about, a lot of times they may have that opt-in, get you sign up for their email list. And we have those, we offer those. And we give free digital content to our subscribers. Most people, if they're subscribing to somebody's newsletter, then you want to thank them and you want to give them something that's exclusive. But we also use digital content on our website in a Bible study format. So in addition to selling our books and our Bible studies, we also have free digital Bible study content on our website, which someone does have to leave their email address if they want to download that. We use that as a marketing tool because it gives our audience a chance to read something that we've written, whether it is a Bible study or it's a journal or it is Bible journaling related. And we always promote product that we can sell in that. And hopefully what we want them to do is find that they enjoy the content that they receive from us. And if they've enjoyed that, download. And some of them are quite big. It's not like it's, here's your single page download. We have some single pages, but a lot of these are pretty good size. And we find that helps them make that decision that, they do want to purchase one of our devotionals, which we have one that's like 250 pages. So it's pretty substantial. And so we use a lot of digital content in that way. It's one of my favorite things to create. It doesn't take near as long to do as a book that's being published, and we can get it out there pretty quick.
Yeah, that's awesome. What about your digital content that you're selling, like some of your Bible journaling and different things that you sell like through your Etsy store?
Yeah, we sell things. It doesn't have to be used for Bible journaling, but that's kind of one of the focus. It's all types of illustrated drawings that I've done personally, and they can be used in your journaling Bible, like for the margin templates, those designs that people like draw in the margins of their Bibles. These are easy to use, and you can use them as bookmarks that you can color. They're all already pre-sized, or you can transfer them or draw them in your Bible. And then there's full page things too. And I have a couple of coloring books, and there's things like that are full page colorables that you can download from our Etsy shop. But we actually have a couple of print coloring books that you can get from Amazon with our other devotionals and Bible studies.
Yeah, I love that. So there's just so many different ways, right, that you could create some products to help fund the other things you want to do. And it could be books, it could be devotionals, it could be printables, just so many different things. I love that you've dabbled in all of them.
Yeah. And one of the things that I hear when I hear from people most about the things that are in the Etsy stores, I hear from a lot of women who are looking for resources that they can use at their women's event. So they may be having a retreat, or it may just be their ladies' night that they're getting together, or Sunday school class. Or I had a lady contact me once from Australia that they were doing vacation Bible school, what we would call it. And she saw some of the pages and wanted to be able to use those with her kids and wanted permission to be able to do that. So there was a lot of people that see the content that I may have thought, I'm going to put this in my Bible, and they find other uses for it. And I hear from women at churches all the time asking if they can produce multiple copies like for their women's event. And to me, that's wonderful. I mean, that's why I do it. Obviously, we sell it in the store so it can fund our ministry, but that's the idea about all of our products, is just getting the word of God out there. And the idea that one summer there were some kids in Australia that were able to use one of our coloring pages and have someone teach them about God is just God showing that He can use our faithfulness and whatever He calls us to do, that He always has a purpose with it. I don't know how many times I've said this to other people, Kim, and probably you too. It's like I could not have come up with a marketing plan to say, I'm going to target youth in Australia for their vacation Bible school. I think that's just not something I could put together and say, this is my target audience, and that's where I want to sell this. And so there obviously is always a God factor. And it's just been a huge blessing to be able to see sometimes how the material is used.
That's so awesome. Katie Reed was a recent guest, and she was talking about, selling things at her book table as a speaker, and how that actually, she made more money doing that than she did the speaking event.
Yes.
And I imagine, women at a speaking event would be picking up things going, wow, this would be great for our next speaking event or our next women's ministry, get together. So definitely think about some different things that you could publish, and like Jana talked about earlier, repurposing your content. Like, I know we loved doing that with our authors, and there's just so much in, gold mine in your archives that you may not think of that you could pull together and put into some kind of a resource.
Exactly. Because even though you may be traditionally published, or you may be seeking that traditional publishing contract, it doesn't eliminate your ability to self-publish. Now, you want to stay within the guidelines of whatever your contract is with your publisher, but just what you said, I mean, there's so much blog material, there's so many other things that you could self-publish on your own without hindering your trade publish plans or what you have in the works with a publisher. And it will give you additional things that you can sell at that book table, because once you go and you speak and your audience falls in love with you, then they're just going to, what else do you have? Where else can I consume your content? And to have 2 or 3 other things on your book table is a great blessing for your audience, as well as helping fund your ministry.
Yeah, that's a great idea. Well, Jana, this has been so awesome, as I knew it would be. I know we could talk for hours about book marketing and all the good stuff and all the authors we love. I would love for you to share just where everybody can connect best with you online.
Well, you can check us out on our website, sweettothesoul.com. And you can follow us on Facebook, Sweet to the Soul Ministries. And on Instagram, it's Jana_Sweet to the Soul. It's a popular name, so I had to put my own name out there. It's about the only thing that's branded with my name. So you can check us out there. You can also find us on Facebook and Instagram as Sweet to the Soul Shop. We're on Etsy as Sweet to the Soul Shop. And I want to invite everybody to check out our new magazine, Sweet to the Soul Faith. And I'll give Kim all of those links. We'll get all of those to you. And I would love to connect with everybody. So visit us online somewhere. That would be wonderful.
That sounds great. Thanks so much, Jana.
Thanks for having me, Kim. This has just been a blast. I love it.
Y'all, I love what Jana shared about inviting others to your table and collaborating on writing projects. So be sure to check out her Sweet to the Soul content submissions if you're interested in contributing content to her magazine, as well as blog and social media content. It is a win-win for all involved, and I'll put a link to everything in the show notes. And I'd love to hear from you. If you found encouragement on this episode of Book Marketing Mania, I'd love for you to take a screenshot and share it on Instagram and tag me at Kim Stu Inspired. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next week as I cheer you on to market your book one podcast at a time.